In this video, we'll discuss the features on Magnus Carlsen's face that point to dominance in focus and analytical capacity, as well as a strong instinctual nature. Enjoy. Hey everybody, Happy New Year. If you guys are doing New Year's resolutions or goals, I hope they are afoot and going well. For today, we have Magnus Carlsen, who was suggested to me by a couple subscribers actually, and he's a world-class chess player. So we're going to be going over the features of his face, the key things that I'm seeing. If you are new to my channel, welcome, but please go up here and watch the 5-minute crash course face reading video. That's a pretty necessary prerequisite. If you've never seen a face reading, it'll give you a good orientation to what this is and isn't. And as always, I appreciate everyone that is sharing my videos and whatnot. And if you are finding value in my content, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, but definitely share these because that's how my channel grows. And my channel is continuing to grow slowly but steadily. And that is kind of the game in YouTube. So I appreciate everyone that is engaging, leaving comments, and sharing these videos. So Magnus Carlsen, right out of the gates, the things that I noticed. So one is sort of the scrunched nature of his features. So when we're looking at faces and we're thinking about face reading theory, the thing that I'm always bringing people back to is the face is a topographical landform of sorts. So anytime we see recession or protrusion in the features or the scrunching or what they call the coalescing, the condensing of features, it's something you want to pay attention to. It's dominant, it stands out, and his face has this. So he's got sort of small eyes, they kind of squint, but he's also got kind of, to a degree, a little bit of a scrunched face towards the central area. And we'll talk about what that means. He's dominant, I would say, in wood and earth. We're going to see wood show up through the jawline. So he's got a pretty beefy jaw. And then he's also got strong eyebrows, but not excessively so, but they're strong. But his brow bone, because the eyes recess a bit, makes that brow bone more prominent, and that's where we see the wood metrics. Now, the earth relates to fleshiness. So anytime we see fleshiness in the face, especially when a person is naturally thin, right? They're not carrying a lot of extra earth or a lot of extra fat or adipose tissue. When the face is still plump, that means that's like true earth. Their face just naturally carries that, and it is. It's fleshy, and that relates to endurance, and we'll talk about what that means in terms of his life terrain. So I don't know a lot about him per se. This is sort of a cold read. I just know that he plays chess, and he's amazing at it. So let's talk about what goes first here. Let's talk about the eyes. The eyes are close set. So on his face, when he's frontal, the eyes are close set and they're also small. As I've said in my other videos, the eyes are a gateway or portal to the soul, the consciousness of a person. And so in face reading theory, what it stipulates is when the eyes are close together, there is usually high analytical and critical capacity in the person. They're good at detail. They're good at focusing on things. So you can sort of think of this in the natural world. If you look at animals, if you look at prey animals and predatory animals, not always the case, right, in every sense, but typically animals that have wider set eyes that are more offset, those eyes have been developed and evolved in the animal to scan for predators in the environment. They're a bit wider. They track more to the peripheral. When the eyes are more frontal, say with like an eagle or a tiger, these predatory animals, they are more frontal. Humans are the same way. We are predators. So the frontal set eyes and close set eyes, the closer the eyes, they say there's more of that predatory instinct. Doesn't mean the person's necessarily aggressive, but that focusing, that honing in, tracking something, he's definitely got this. So in terms of chess, I would say this probably serves him in that regard, and this is where we can see it expressed in his face. So the eyes are close set. Now, when I was looking at his face also, what I noticed were his 3 sectors. So I've talked about this in a number of videos. If you want to go up here and check out a video on the 3 sectors, what that means and how to assess personality, you can go watch that. But loosely, what we're talking about is the height of these 3 sectors. So from the top of the hairline to the eyebrows, that's one sector, relates to the mental sphere. Then we've got from the eyebrows to the bottom of the nose, that's the pragmatic sphere. And then we have from the bottom of the nose to the chin is the instinctual and emotional sphere. The more height we see in these areas, the more dominant a person is in terms of how they run. Now, what's interesting about his face, I did this from profile, and I just did a video, I think last week. Yeah, I'm pretty sure last week, on assessing the profile and the 3 sectors. So when we see protrusion and recession in the features, especially from profile, when things recede, like the forehead slants back, or the jaw protrudes forward. We want to think protrusion relates to the enhancement of these metrics and recession points to the diminishment of these metrics. So for him, his face definitely has sort of that backward slant. And when we see that backward slant, you want to think of it as a landform. So things are sort of coalescing down towards the bottom of the face. Things are protruding and growing out this way. So when we look at his face here, his smallest area technically is the pragmatic sphere. His mental sphere is, and it's arguable, they're pretty close. Like I would say his mental and his pragmatic are very, very close, maybe a hair more in the mental sphere. And then he's more dominant through the lower portion, which means an emotional and instinctual nature. Now, sometimes when we see this scrunching of the features, okay, typically what that means is less of those metrics. But there is another expression, and this is stuff that I would be asking him if I was working with him around face reading and lifestyle guidance, would be sometimes when the features do this, these sectors shrink a bit, it's also like compression and extraction of pragmatism. So it doesn't always mean that they're less so in that area. Sometimes it can actually mean just the opposite, but you do have to kind of hunt and peck and ask about that. So I would think, I'd have to talk to him, but my guidance would be, in terms of working with him, would say, yes, obviously there's a lot of mental computing power that goes with playing chess, but in the end, there is, on his face, I would say, rely a bit more on your instincts. Now, I don't know about chess to the degree that he does, obviously, but I've heard that a lot of chess, when they get good and they're doing the speed chess where they're playing quickly, it's a lot of emotions and instincts. They're moving quickly, they're thinking, but they're definitely going with their gut and moving quickly and adapting as they go. So I would say for him, that's favorable. That's more the way to do it. But this compressed feature around the eyes, the close set eyes, and the scrunching of the features towards the middle of the face also points to that beeline focus. And I think that's evident and would probably be very apparent in his chess playing. Now, the other thing I noticed were his forehead lines. They do connect. So I've said this before, the forehead relates to the mind and how the mind expresses. When the forehead lines connect, especially when someone furrows their brow and things wrinkle a bit, when they connect, this is cohesiveness of thought, the ability to think clearly and directly, and can also relate to persuasion as well. So I would suspect in his chess playing, high mental computing power, and having those lines would be favorable, absolutely, in terms of what he's doing with his life terrain. He's also got the M-shaped hairline, what they call the widow's peak. So you actually do the hairline from where the widow peak starts, okay? So some people are flat, but you want to think, if you're looking at someone with an M-shaped hairline, you're going from the point, not from where the top points are up here. You're going from this. But he does have the M-shaped hairline. So this is a favorable or auspicious hairline in face reading because it points to a surplus of yin. Yin, it relates to receptivity, feeling, sensitivity, and yang is a bit more outwardly expressed. Aggression, being forthright, being direct, pushing out into the world. So when we see this hairline, it's a surplus of yin, which again points to sort of this, it's the mind's willingness to go deep and to think and to go into the yin, in terms of themes in life. So again, favorable. And as he gets older, what face reading says too is that as the hairline recedes, the more the hairline recedes as we get older, the more the capacity of the mind starts to take over. You can sort of think of it almost like, as the mind is used and we're using the mind and processing things, we're also burning up fuel. And as we do that, the way the East kind of looks at the hairline receding is that like the burning of the hair, the receding of the hair is also the mind going into overdrive. Overdrive doesn't mean bad, right? That's also like cruise control. But it means that as he ages, that mental sphere and capacity is going to increase. But he's got a nice, big, broad forehead. And when we see that, again, open mind, lots of computing power, lots of thinking power. So these are the big things I noticed. And I would also say he's got a pretty sizable earth mouth. He's got the fleshy features, but the earth mouth, when we see a mouth like his with those full lips, that is a sensory-based person. The 5 senses are pretty key in terms of the person feeling grounded and rooted in their life. So pretty interesting in looking at his features, and I appreciate people giving me suggestions because I really gear a lot of my face readings to what the audience is saying. And he was a good one. He's got some really clean features. And when we see these asymmetries and these kind of scrunchings, these things are bold. And I like reading bold faces because technically they're easier to read. You know what you're dealing with. When the face is a bit more homogeneous, there's a lot more guesswork. And when things are a little bit more bold and a bit more dynamic, you can get a better read. So this is all I got for Magnus Carlsen today. If there's someone else you'd like me to read, please put them down below. And again, Happy New Year. And as always, thanks for your time.